England versus India, and we have a series. We have a series decider here, and joining me, Pratya Tiwari, and we are going to discuss about India-England series third ODI, which is going to happen in Old Trafford, Manchester. And this match is going to be a series decider since England has won one match and India has won one. So both teams have one win in their account. Joining me, Pratya Tiwari. Hi, Pratya. How are you? So we have seen this series India and England. एक मैच इंग्लैंड ने जीता, एक मैच इंडिया ने जीता. दोनों ही जीत ऐसी थी जिसके बाद हमें देखने को मिला कि दोनों ने कॉन्फिडेंस भी गेन किया और थोड़ा लूज भी किया. बट ये जो सीरीज डिसाइडर है, यहाँ पर माइंडसेट बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करेगा. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक कि इंग्लैंड का माइंडसेट कैसा होगा और इंडिया का माइंडसेट कैसा होगा गोइंग फॉरवर्ड इन दिस मैच?
वेल पॉइंटेड आउट राजसी, बिकॉज आई थिंक जब आप 10 विकेट से एक गेम हारते हैं और दूसरे मैच में आप 100 रन से जीतते हैं, सो यू विल फील कि शायद इंग्लैंड ने कुछ चीजें सही की हैं उस गेम में. But England were left with searching for answers after the first game. India left for searching for answers after the second. So I think this game is, of course, important because it's a decider and the series is on the line. So there is a series to be won, which is clear. But I think both those games, what we always say that you have to learn from your mistakes, but you don't want to remember these kind of games. It's actually not very routine that we see these kind of games back to back, because in a sense or two, both these games were slightly exceptional because you don't see a side of England's caliber being bowled out for 140 odd. And then 110, and then India being bowled out for 140 odd. So I think it's a bit of an exception that we have seen in this series turning out. But I think that both these teams would not want to remember a lot from that games, apart from not repeating the mistakes, because वो games ऐसे हैं जिनको देख करके शायद आपको confidence तो नहीं मिलेगा. So you would want not to repeat those mistakes and try to put your best foot forward in this game.
राइट. और रोहित शर्मा ने लास्ट मैच में बोला भी था कि जब इंडिया मैच हार गई थी तो एज कैप्टन उन्होंने बोला था कि हमने वही मिस्टेक्स की जो इंग्लैंड ने फर्स्ट गेम में की थी, तो हम उन्हें रिपीट कर पा रहे थे. बट लेट्स से कि इस मैच में किस तरह से इंडिया टर्न आउट करके उन्हीं मिस्टेक्स को रिपीट नहीं करती है. बट यहाँ पर एक मिस्टेक है जो हम बिल्कुल रिपीट नहीं करना चाहेंगे प्रत्यय, बिकॉज दिस मैच इज इन ओल्ड ट्रैफर्ड मैनचेस्टर. एंड लास्ट, इफ आई रिमेंबर, लास्ट मैच जब ओल्ड ट्रैफर्ड में इंडिया ने खेला था, दैट वाज 2019 वर्ल्ड कप, जिसमें न्यूजीलैंड से सेमीफाइनल हार गई थी इंडिया, और उसके बाद में अब जाकर के हम ये मैच खेलेंगे. क्या हम इस मेमोरी को याद करते हुए, इससे कुछ सीख लेते हुए इस मैच में कुछ नया कर पाएंगे, या ओल्ड ट्रैफर्ड में इंडिया से हम क्या एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं इन टर्म्स की अगर हमें सीरीज जीतनी हो? सो व्हाट इंडिया कैन डू?
See, I think yes, definitely not the best memory to be entering onto any venue, because that also eventually turned out to be the last game of MS Dhoni and that fateful run out of his Martin Guptill's throw and India crashing out of the World Cup. So yes, of course, it's not the best of memories, but yes, it's not that it's one of those venues where India has not really won, because they had a couple of victories at the same venue during the World Cup. So it's not that kind of a venue where you don't want to turn up. And as we always say, I mean, it's a big cliche, but every day is a new day, and how you're going to play on that particular day is going to dominate the proceedings. So as I said, that if you look at this Indian side, if you look at the players that we have, there is no dearth of potential. There's no dearth of talent. Yes, these kind of games can happen, because previous games there were plenty of mistakes that India did. I will still say that it's a game that the Indian batting lineup would want to forget, because if you are being able to restrict England to 246 something of that kind of a total, you still would say that your bowlers have done a decent job for you. So the bowlers won't be that disappointed. And one good thing in India's favor would be that in one game you have seen Jasprit Bumrah taking a 6-4, so that was pace dominating. In the second game you saw Yuzvendra Chahal taking a 4-4, so that was spin dominating. So and that is not a good sign for England, because you are allowing basically both pacers and spinners to get the better of you in 2 games in a row. So I think at this moment India would still want to brush that side off, and we often talk about momentum. So there is this kind of a balance, because okay, both the teams have gotten one single victory as a piece, and it's 1-1. So I think you can't ask for a better decider, better finale. And I don't think that India would be looking for, as far as that match is concerned. Of course, 2019, it's a bad memory. No Indian fan would ever want to look back at that match for too many reasons, because not just India crashed out of the World Cup, but it was also Dhoni's last match. But I think that it's still a new day, it's still a new game, it's still a venue, and you have to play your best and you have to put your best foot forward. And of course, if you do that correctly, you can expect the results to follow your way.
Definitely. And to expect good results, we must see what numbers we have for this match. So first we'll start with the head-to-head between India and England in ODIs. So if you can see the numbers on the screen, so definitely India and England के जितने भी matches हमने last अभी history में देखे हैं, इंडिया और इंग्लैंड दोनों ने बहुत ही नेक टू नेक रखा है अपना पूरा रिकॉर्ड, बट इंडिया का स्लाइट थोड़ा सा ज्यादा उनका अपर हैंड है. सो वील सी द हेड टू हेड राइट नाउ. कैन वी प्लीज हैव द नंबर्स ऑन द स्क्रीन्स? सो वील गेट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि इंडिया और इंग्लैंड के बीच में जब जब मैचेस हुए हैं बहुत ही अच्छा क्लैश देखने को मिला है प्रत्यय। एज फैंस हम लोग बहुत एंजॉय करते हैं इसको। अब चूंकि इंडिया का इस पे अपर हैंड है, सो विल डेफिनेटली गो फॉरवर्ड। प्लेयर्स टू वॉच आउट की तरफ एक बार नजर डालते हैं। जो रूट के नंबर्स को देखेंगे आज के मैच में हम लोगों ने, अगर हम जो रूट को एक्सपेक्ट करें, अगर हम प्रीवियस पूरी ओडीआई सीरीज की बात करें, प्रत्येक जब भी इंग्लैंड के बैट्समैन को हम लोग देखते हैं तो हमेशा से लगता है कि इनका अपना फैब फोर चल रहा है, बिकॉज दे हैव जो रूट, दे हैव जॉनी बेस्टो, दे हैव जॉस बटलर। तो उनके अपने पास इतने बैट्समैन हैं उनके पास कि किस तरीके से वो लोग अपना पूरा बैटल पूरा चलाते हैं। बट अगर हम उनके ऑर्डर की बात करें, जॉस बटलर इज दैट की जो इतना अच्छा परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाए पिछले 2 मैचेस में। शमी के पास उनके हर एक सवाल का जवाब रहा है। सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट दिस कि जॉस बटलर और शमी व्हेन दे प्ले, व्हाट हैपेंस, हु इज गोइंग टू विन दैट बैटल?
Well, I think if you go by current form, there's every chance that Mohammad Shami will come up trumps against Josh Butler. Because if you talk about this particular year, it has been a great, great year for Josh Butler. Otherwise, because he had a scintillating IPL, then he had a brilliant series against the Netherlands. But I think ever since he has taken the captaincy, he has not been able to get the runs flowing. But we all know, I mean, when Butler gets on song and when he gets his flow back, then he is someone who can absolutely decimate any bowling attack on his day. So you know that he's a dangerous proposition. But I think that yes, if you're talking about England top order, there are certain concerns over there because Jason Roy as well has not been able to hit the straps. He has been under pressure right through the T20I series. Then again in the couple of ODIs, not been able to get those starts or not being able to convert them if he has gotten them. Josh Butler also not being able to I think at this point in time the biggest concern for them would be the top order, because you know that okay, Stokes, Bairstow, these people have still gotten runs. Joe Root is in the form of his life, so some or the other time you will see him scoring runs. But when your openers do not perform, it kind of starts to add more pressure onto your middle order as well. And you do not want, no matter how good a form or how bad a form a player is in, you don't want them to have the extra or additional pressure of someone else not performing upon them. So I think it is important for them to fire. But on recent form, if you're asking who is more likely to dominate the battle between these two, you will rather believe that Shami would is expected to get the better of Butler. But as I said, on his day when Butler gets going, you just cannot stop him. So I think India will still want to be wary of him.
Right, and next pair battle we have is Ben Stokes versus Jasprit Bumrah. And we have seen Bumrah की 42 balls पे 51 runs Ben Stokes have scored और 2 बार आउट किया है बुमराह ने। हमने सीरीज में तो देखा है कि बेन स्टोक्स की का जो विकेट है वो शमी ने लिया, बट बुमराह का उनके साथ बैटल काफी अच्छा है। हमारे एक ऐसे बॉलर जिन्होंने लिटरली वर्ल्ड में अपना डोमिनेशन क्लियर फ्लैग लेकर के चल पड़े हैं बुमराह, बट इस सीरीज में भी हमने उनको देखा जिस तरीके से उन्होंने परफॉर्म किया है। आज के मैच में कितना बड़ा रोल प्ले करेंगे बुमराह, ये मैं जानना चाहूंगी प्रत्यय आपसे।
Bilkul Rajsi, because he is your trump card, he is your frontline pacer, and he is someone whom India always relies upon because he is one of your go-to bowlers. Whenever the captain is stuck, perhaps you look towards one bowler जो आपको विकेट ला के दे सकता है। अगर चीजें कुछ नहीं हो रही होती हैं तो आप अपने सीनियर पेसर के पास में जाते हैं, which of course Bumrah is. And if you talk about the form that he has been in, I think he had a good test match against England. Then he has been in great form. I mean, throughout this year, 6 wicket already. A 6 wicket haul is not something that you see often happening in any format of the game. So that tells you that he is in his rhythm, and he has played a couple of ODIs as well. So you would feel that he is kind of into the momentum. He is kind of into the groove, because ODI cricket we haven't been seeing a lot of it in the recent past. So it was also a challenge for players to kind of acclimatize themselves to the format, because with this particular series, the crunch has been a lot. You have to suddenly make a quick turnaround. You have to play test matches, then you have to come to T20I, then suddenly you have to play 50 over format, and you need to shift gears quickly, which Bumrah has managed to do. So I think he would definitely want to end the series on a high. And as I said, that when he gets going and when he performs, I mean, in the first game, he was the record in chief. I mean, 6 wickets, and that entirely derailed England. I mean, to an extent that India won the game in a canter. And I think so that kind of just tells you how great a potential he has and what kind of match winning abilities he has. So if he gets going and if he is in his rhythm, it's always good news for India.
Right, or other than Bumrah, we have Hardik Pandya as player to watch out for India this time. Since 65 matches में he has scored 103 15 runs and 92 highest है उनका, 59 wickets लिए हैं। Pratyay, I remember Hardik Pandya इसके पहले जब उनको injury हुई थी, then he was unable to come back as a player, but the moment he made a comeback as a bowler, so उसके बाद we have seen a certainly new kind of a Pandya coming into this scene of Indian team, and now he's again the player to watch out for this particular series. So what thoughts do you have for Hardik Pandya, since he is now taking wickets, he's now scoring runs, he's now playing as an all-rounder, which we all have dreamt of. So what are your thoughts about Hardik?
No doubt, no doubt. Absolutely. He's a champion player, Bradsi, because if you see someone who has got the skills to contribute in two, three departments, and I've been mentioning this previously as well. Now, having seen him lead Gujarat Titans to an IPL title, there's another facet of Hardik Pandya that now we are looking at, and that is leadership as well. So he is someone perhaps who can, just chip in maybe with some advice when you need, because of course there's a captain who is leading the team, but you never mind having leaders around you, that you never mind having experienced players around you. You never mind having players who understand the game, and his reading of the game. In the last 4 to 5 months, we have seen how drastic a change he has shown in himself. I mean, that he was a quality all rounder was never in question, because we've seen him performing for India through the years. And specifically, very correct point that you said, that ever since his back injury, when he was not being able to contribute with the ball, there were questions on his place in the side, whether he deserves to be there or not. Because we know that, perhaps you do not want Hardik Pandya to just play as a pure batter in the side, because that kind of dents your balance. But once Hardik Pandya starts to contribute with the ball, then he is an entirely different proposition. And right now, at the moment, he is definitely one of the hottest properties, because he is someone who can float around a little bit, because he was batting number 4 for Gujarat Titans. We know that he can finish games. He is someone who is giving you the overs with the ball. He is batting well, he is fielding well, and now he is also bringing up that leadership facet. So I think at this moment, he is one of the best players that you are talking about, not just in Indian cricket but world cricket definitely.
राइट और हार्दिक पांड्या के साथ साथ क्या आप देखते हैं प्रत्यय कि इंडिया टीम में सिंस इट्स अ सीरीज डिसाइडेड इट्स अ ह्यूज मैच इट्स क्वाइट अ समिट क्लैश ऑफ द सीरीज इफ यू कुड से दिस so any changes do you see in the Indian team, because we have Arshdeep in our squad and we have seen him in T20I matches to play for India, and then we have this squad. So do you see any changes in terms of bowlers or maybe in terms of batters, because there are a lot of things, a lot of youngsters are coming into the squad. So do you see someone coming?
I think had India won the previous game, then it would have. I mean, conventional wisdom would suggest that if you have pocketed the series, then you of course want to make a changes, because you want to give your bench a chance. But considering the fact that the series is still on the line, and you of course want to finish it on a high, you perhaps would not want to tinker too much with the combination, for two reasons. Because as I said, that ODI format has not been one of those formats that is being played often. So any player who gets to come in will take a little bit of time to adjust to things. That is going to be slightly difficult for anyone. So any player that you are bringing in is going to play an ODI for the first time. Arshdeep, yes, he is definitely a great wily bowler, because he's someone who knows his game very well. Death over economy, he is your go-to bowler, can bowl in different phases. And what I particularly like about him is that how he varies things. He is a thinking bowler, because you will see him doing different kind of things, probably varying his trajectory or where he releases the ball or using the pitch. So he is definitely a good proposition. But would I make that change at the moment? Perhaps not, for one reason, that you also don't want to show a lot of panic, because after a 100-run loss, if you are making wholesale changes, perhaps you are sending out a message that you're not backing your players after just one loss. Because England did that, but we did not see them, because it was a massive loss that they had to undergo. But then they did not change their side, which tells you that you're backing your players, you are showing faith in them, that okay, fine, even if you have lost one game, we are still showing trust in you. So I don't think that it would make a lot of sense to change any of the side for that reason. And specifically, as I said, because you kind of want to give a run to the players. And this management under Dravid, what we have seen is that players have often been backed. I always get back to the South African series, because 5 T20Is on the trot, India did not even make one change. So that sends out a message that this is one of those managements which wants to back their players and wants to show trust in them. So I won't be surprised if India go unchanged.
Right, or Pratyay, Virat Kohli is not the captain anymore. But if you see the changes in the leadership, so we have seen Virat Kohli trying out 35 combinations back to back, like he was chopping and changing the players. But now, if we can see, Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma is taking. I'm not saying Virat Kohli is not a good captain; he is really good. But so Rohit Sharma की अगर बात करें, तो he is constantly backing up the players. Even when it comes to Virat Kohli, he is also doing the same. So whenever leadership में changes होते हैं, तो definitely टीम का जो पूरा momentum होता है, जो टीम का पूरा mindset होता है, वो भी एकदम different जाता है. And we can see this since रोहित शर्मा जब से captaincy ली है, और इसके अलावा अभी हमने बहुत सारे captaincy changes भी देखे हैं. Let's not even go there. So a latest update we have here is India versus England के बीच ये जो toss हुआ है, जैसे कि हमने पहले भी देखा है, रोहित शर्मा इज वेरी गुड एट विनिंग द टॉस एंड ही हैज वन द टॉस अगेन एंड ही हैज ऑप्टेड टू बॉल. हमारे पास यहाँ पे स्टेटमेंट है जो कि रोहित शर्मा ने जस्ट आफ्टर द टॉस दिया है. दैट इज रोहित शर्मा ने कहा है, वी आर गोइंग टू बोल फर्स्ट, इट लुक्स लाइक अ गुड ट्रैक एंड वोंट चेंज फॉर द कोर्स ऑफ 100 overs. It is the series decider and we have played some good cricket on the tour. We took the learnings from the last game. We bowled well in the limited over, the T20 series as well. Hoping we all restrict them today to a reasonable target. Bumrah has a niggle, Siraj comes in. That's a big news. Bumrah has niggle and Siraj comes in. And after that, Josh Butler ने कहा टॉस हारने के बाद, which I would say, कि we would have looked to bat. It is a little muggy and there might be some swing early on, but we will get good for batting as the game progresses. It is great for the series as it is 1-1 coming into this game. Lots of positives. We scrapped with the with the bat to get a defendable total in the last game. We are going with the same team. यहाँ पर एक थोड़ा चेंजेस इन ओपिनियन वी वुड से, रोहित शर्मा ने बोला कि हम बोल करना चाहेंगे यहाँ पर, इसके अलावा स्टोक्स ने कहा कि हम बैट करने को प्रेफर कर रहे थे. प्रत्यय, व्हाट वुड यू से, व्हाट वुड बी द राइट डिसीजन टू टेक टॉस के बाद? बॉलिंग इज अ गुड डिसीजन और बैटिंग इज अ गुड डिसीजन ऑन दिस फील्ड?
Hey, whatever cricket I've seen on Manchester, it's not one of those grounds where ball does a lot. It's not one of those grounds which is very swing friendly compared to other England venues where you will see the ball hooping around. Of course, it also depends on what kind of overhead conditions you have, because swing and these things are mostly and largely dominated by that. In fact, Manchester, if you talk about historically, it's one of those venues which actually assists spin a lot more than it does to pace. But what kind of a track we have an offering, that's something only time will tell. But I think yes, as far as bowling first is concerned, I think India have had a reputation of being master chasers, and I think in this particular format, that is something which suits their game a lot better, because as I said that in test matches the challenges are different. In T20Is you do not have that much time, but in ODI cricket the best hybrid which allows you freedom is that you are not it's there's ample time for you to get set. So even if you have played say 15-20 balls without scoring, you always have that ability and that freedom to kind of make up for it at a later point of time, which is exactly why we perhaps even there's a school of thought which feels that the best format for Virat Kohli to come back in form would be ODIs. And I mean, even if you see in the last 5-10 years, whatever cricket India has played, you will always see them being a team who loves to chase, who know what their target is front of them, and then they accordingly, kind of set things and set their plans accordingly, be it even the T20I format or the ODI format. So I think what's going to be key here is to not allow England to run away with the game, because you will want to kind of restrict them, because this is kind of a decent scoring ground, Manchester. So it's important for the bowlers to restrict them, and then you can back your batters to chase it, because anyone in the side, if you pick up the names in the Indian batting lineup, they are all who are people who can play their game well when they have a set target in front of them. So I think it's a good decision. And of course, he would have taken into consideration also what kind of pitch he has. But what's now interesting is that now the leader of your pace attack is gone. We were talking about Bumrah.
That,
Unfortunately, he misses out. So this actually becomes a great opportunity for Mohammad Siraj as well, because ODI format is not one of those that he has played a lot. Only 4-5 ODIs. He hasn't gotten a lot of chances. So with a T20, with the ODI World Cup coming next year at home, any game that any player is going to get will be a great opportunity for them to audition.
right, and with that change, we have our playing 11. We can just simply see it on the screen that क्या changes हुए हैं. ऐसे जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया इसके पहले कि इंग्लैंड अनचेंज्ड है और इंडिया की तरफ से एक चेंज है कि बुमराह goes out and Siraj comes in. Let's look at the playing 11 which we have for India and England after the toss. Okay, I think there will be that the graphic will come soon. But Pratyay, as we were discussing about the playing 11 before, see, हमने लास्ट मैच में देखा था कि सूर्य कुमार को हम बहुत मुश्किल से यहाँ पर देख पाए हैं एज नंबर 4 एंड ही इज स्कोरिंग गुड इन ही इज डूइंग गुड. और लास्ट हमने जब देखा, जब से सुरेश रैना और युवराज सिंह ने टीम को छोड़ा है, नंबर 4 हमारा फिक्स नहीं था. बट सूर्य कुमार यादव के आने के बाद होप दिखने लग गई है कि नाउ वी कैन से समवन हु इज ऑन नंबर 4 एंड हु इज बैकिंग द टीम जब टॉप ऑर्डर ज्यादा अच्छा परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाता. बट लास्ट मैच में वी हैव सीन कि सूर्य कुमार यादव को उन्होंने नंबर 5 पे खिला करके ऋषभ पंत को नंबर 4 पे प्रमोट किया. डू यू सी दिस इज अ गुड मूव? क्योंकि सूर्य कुमार यादव को एज फैंस अगर हम लोग देखें तो वी आर क्वाइट कंफर्टेबल विद हिम प्लेइंग एट नंबर 4. डू यू सी दैट चेंज वाज रिक्वायर्ड एनीमोर, या फिर वापस उनको 4 नंबर पे भेज देना चाहिए?
I personally think that he is best suited at number 4, because he is someone who can actually control the flow of the game. So even he's one of those batters. If he's coming in at his right point of time, if his entry point is good, that you have gotten a good start, your openers have gotten you amongst the runs. So he is someone who can fire and kind of go all guns blazing. Because what's the best part about Surya Kumar is that he's very flexible. although I'm not in much favor of, because someone is flexible, you should not be constantly tinkering with his position, because that is what we saw with him at the IPL as well, when he was constantly being shuffled in the order for the Mumbai Indians. And now perhaps that has also become slight bit of a case. So you rather want to have a settled combination, a settled batting order, because that gives you clarity. And again, since we are talking about the Rohit and Dravid era, another point which is very pertinent to note is that this management has also given a clarity of roles to every other single player, so you're not confused about what kind of role you have to play. From that perspective, I think Surya Kumar Yadav is best suited at number 4. Yes, perhaps as an odd experiment, if you want to try, if you want to kind of put Pant into that situation and want to test how he is responding to those kind of things, for that purpose, it's absolutely fine to test it. But if you're looking for a long-term prospect, if you're looking for a settled batting lineup, it is always better to have players at their designated roles. And like I said, but because Surya Kumar Yadav, he's someone who understands the game very well, and he has the ability to take the game away from you in a jiffy, because he is unorthodox. He is not afraid. He is not someone who, he will never shy away from expressing himself. And when you have that kind of a player who can change the flow and change the course of the game, you rather don't want to tinker too much and unsettle things for him. So for me at this point in time, clearly I would say that you can see Surya Kumar Yadav as India's future number 4 for a very, very long time, because the way he has been playing his cricket, there is no reason why you would not want to have him in the team.
Right. So with this, let's take a look at the milestones of which our players are going to approach in this particular match. We have Moeen Ali. Requires 20 runs to reach 2,000 runs in ODI cricket, which is quite approachable. Then Johnny Bairstow is 2 fours away from completing 400 fours in the 50-over format. Again, quite approachable. Ben Stokes is 2 grabs away from completing 50 catches in the 50-over format. This is approachable, but we don't want him to approach this maybe in this particular clash. Next is Hardik Pandya. He is 5 fours away from reaching 100 fours in ODI cricket. We wish he could do this. And then Joss Butler needs 7 fours to reach 354s in ODI cricket. Well, Joss Butler, Hardik Pandya, a lot of players are approaching a lot of milestones. Let's take a look at the social tracker. What people are talking about them on social tracker this time, because India England का match हो, लोग बात ना करें, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. We have Shehbaz tweeting about Rohit Sharma in ODI series deciders at home 72.80 का average, and at away 5.33 average. This is Shehbaz telling us about the Rohit Sharma's home and away. Next, what we have on social tracker, can we see it? Okay, Trick Tracker tweeting the series decider day is here. Who will win the series? That's quite a question, and you can also comment and tell us who's going to win this series. Let's see what we have next. Delhi Capitals tweeting who will rise to the occasion in Manchester. Have your say. So यहाँ पर भी हमारा आप क्रिक ट्रैकर पर भी आप आकर के अपना पोल दे सकते हैं कि who do you think is going to win this series? Is India going to win it or England is going to win it? Do we have anything else? Yes, Anurag Sinha, England versus India. That is, the decider is here. Match starts at 3:30 p.m. Sunny and bright at Manchester. That's a good news, Pratyay. Even क्योंकि इंग्लैंड में अगर हम वेदर की बात ना करें तो हमें हमेशा से वेदर इज एक बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन रहता है कि चलो ठीक है हम खेलेंगे 50 ओवर, वेदर खेलने दे तब ना. बट अभी बताया जा रहा है, जैसे कि हमने लास्ट वीक में देखा, इट्स सनी एंड ब्राइट देयर, व्हिच मींस कंप्लीट 50 ओवर मैच देखने को मिलेगा. सिंस अब बुमराह तो है नहीं प्लेइंग 11 में, तो इंग्लैंड के लिए इतना डरने की बात नहीं है कि वो पूरे ओवर्स खेल सकते हैं. बट लेट्स सी सिराज और शमी किस तरीके से यहाँ पर प्रोग्रेस करते हैं. लास्ट क्वेश्चन पूछूंगी मैं आपसे यहाँ पे प्रत्यय, सिंस इंग्लैंड और न्यूजीलैंड के बीच में हमने जो वर्ल्ड कप देखा था, वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल, वी ऑल नो कि वहां पर क्या हुआ था कि आफ्टर अ सुपर ओवर वी हैव गॉट टू सी बाउंड्री काउंट से हमने विनर निकाला था. तो जस्ट अ क्वेश्चन जिसको हमारे जो जितने लाइव हमारी ऑडियंस है वो भी हमें आंसर कर सकती है हमारे कमेंट्स में, कि इफ यू गेट टू डिसाइड, यू गेट टू सजेस्ट आईसीसी कि आफ्टर दिस सुपर ओवर what you can tell or what you can get to understand कि कौन होगा इस बार का विजेता, कौन होगा फाइनलिस्ट. what suggestions you can give to ICC कि भाई अब की ऐसे नहीं, ऐसे डिसाइड कर लेते हैं. suggestions please, time for suggestion.
Well, I think that boundary count rule, yes, it was very contentious, and you do not want you don't want to have a winner just on the basis of who has hit more fours or more sixes. But that has been correctly scrapped. It was very important that to be scrapped. None of us thought that such a situation would arrive, and let alone in a World Cup final. But then that is why we call cricket a funny game. When the moment comes, anything can happen. So I think that yes, it has been scrapped and it has been buried for the good. And now super overs are going to be repeated until unless you get to a result. Yes, super overs can be tied as well, but common sense would suggest that how many super over ties would you actually see? Maybe one, maybe two, maybe three. Eventually, you will actually come out to a result. So I think that actually that's a step in the right direction, because yes, it's not a very fair contest. But when you have so little to separate two sides, that you have to come down to a 1 over shootout, you're not left with too many options. So the best bet is to continue making them play until you get to a result. And I think a boundary count rule never actually made a lot of sense. So I think this particular the status quo is pretty good, and I think that is a step in the right direction as well, that you play super overs until you get to a final result, which makes sense.
राइट एंड विद दैट इट ब्रिंग्स टू अस टू द एंड ऑफ द शो. प्री मैच में हमारी तरफ से इतना ही, बट हमारी वेबसाइट पे और सोशल और ट्रिक ट्रैकर पे आप हमारे सोशल मीडिया पे जाकर के यू कैन गेट ऑल अपडेट्स रिगार्डिंग द मैच. ऑल्सो प्रत्यय, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग मी इन द शो. पोस्ट मैच में फिर से मिलेंगे और बताएंगे अपनी ऑडियंसेस को कि आफ्टर व्हाट हैज हैपेंड एक्चुअली इन द मैच और सीरीज डिसाइडर एक्चुअली किसके हाथ में गई है सीरीज. हैज इंडिया वन इट और इंग्लैंड इज गोइंग टू वन इट? We'll see. बट आप हमारे साथ पोस्ट मैच में जरूर जुड़े तो जानने के लिए कि आफ्टर ऑल मैच में क्या हुआ. प्रत्येक इनसाइट्स लेंगे, आप सबके इनसाइट्स भी लेंगे. कमेंट से आप हमें बता सकते हैं अपने सारे व्यूज. तब तक के लिए थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस इन द शो इन द एयर. विल मीट यू इन द पोस्ट शो. बाय बाय.